All right. Hey guys, I wanted to make a video about Nikola Tesla. I wanted to look at his astrology charts and give a reading for Nikola Tesla. He was born in 1856, 10th of July at midnight. And I got the information from Astro Theme website. That's what they say, midnight exactly. So we're going with it. All right. Okay, so I pulled up some fixed stars because they seem to correlate with his with some of his planets. First thing is so Sun is in Cancer at 17 degrees, conjunct Venus, and then we have somewhat of a stellium here: Ceres, Saturn, and Mercury. Saturn and Ceres and Venus are all in Cancer, but Mercury's in Gemini in the third house. So he has a third house stellium, Mercury's in Gemini. So, I mean, briefly, I want to kind of, figure out why Nikola Tesla was so brilliant. And I want to try and explain that from my perspective. And just so we're clear, of course, this is after the fact, this, hindsight, like we already know that Nikola Tesla was a genius. I'm not looking at somebody's random chart who I have no idea what they are, who they are, and being like, oh, this person's a genius. Which, by the way, just to give you an idea, even like the most experienced astrologers say that they can't, that's impossible. Well, I don't know about impossible, but like they can't do that. They're not going to look at a chart that they have no idea who the person is and just be like, wow, this person is this, it doesn't work like that for a lot of reasons. People can have very, very similar charts and have different lives, different outcomes. But anyway, so this is a little bit after the fact, of course, obviously, but all right. So his sun is in Cancer and it's conjunct Castor, which is interesting. I'm just going to go back and forth a little bit. I want to read some of what that is. The fixed star Castor. It's a very important star. It is in the Gemini constellation, which brings me to a different point, which I'm going to get to, but I just want to point out what Castor is. It's one of the Gemini twins, and that makes perfect sense, even though, because his sun is in Cancer, but it's conjunct one of the Gemini constellations, stars. And it gives a lot of things, but among one of the things is brilliance, because Gemini is known for their intellect and all that. And this is where, Vedic sidereal astrology and sort of tropical overlap. But let me just focus on one thing at a time. My Gemini mind's jumping all over the place. Ptolemy gave it the nature of Mercury. I mean, these fixed stars are associated with lots of things, but this one of the things is like very high intellect and brilliance. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because it'll just take too long. But I found that fascinating. And I mean, Tesla, one of the things he's known for is his brilliance. So, I mean, Gemini, brilliance, intellect, he's one of the twins. And what's interesting also about this story is there was mixed success. I mean, they died, Castor died, and then Pollux wanted to be with him in heaven, so he died, and then Nikola Tesla was successful, but then ultimately he failed, so there's a parallel theme going on there. Let's see, Sun conjunct Castor, prominence in occult matters. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there was some sort of occultic thinking going on with Tesla. He was very occultic minded. He said like 369 was if you understand that, I don't remember, but it's just there. And a whole bunch of negative stuff too. But main thing is Gemini, Mercury, brilliance. So, and I think fixed stars, they don't, I mean, they definitely don't describe our personality, but because they're so far away. Um, and in astrology, we say like the closer a planet is, the more personal it is, like Moon, Venus, Mercury, Sun, Mars. These are all our personal planets because they're so close. And the planets that are further away have more impersonal effect. Well, I mean, the stars have, they're light years away, so the personal influence is very minimal, but they do have a profound, kind of subtle and deep influence on our lives, especially if they are conjunct to personal planets. And here, this is less than a degree, so that's very prominent in his chart. And it's conjunct. His sun is conjunct a very important angle, the IC. Just briefly, if you look at most of his planets are on the lower half of the horizon. This is the horizon, and what that means is that when people have most of their planets conjunct together on the lower half, that indicates talent. That indicates a lot of personal talent and skills and creativity. These are the type of people who are going to be very, very gifted in certain areas. Where they can be gifted, it'll change. It'll depend on the planets and the signs and everything else. But these are the type of people that are going to be gifted and talented and skilled. If it's on the opposite side, if all the planets are up here, these are the people who are going to achieve worldly success, leaders and CEOs and people who are out in the world, like conquering with others, because this deals with others, this deals with the self, right? And so like artistic skills and genius and brilliance is all part of the lower half. This is the night half. This is the midnight, or not exactly midnight, but when the sun is at the low point. And he's born midnight, right? Okay. So Saturn indicates in the third house, that deals with science. Whenever Saturn is aspecting Mercury, or in the third house in general, or with Gemini, just Saturn with Mercury indicates a scientific leaning. So, and Mercury is here right at the end of Gemini in the third house. So that anyone with a Gemini Mercury in the third house is going to be very highly intellectual. All their energy, all their mercurial energy is channeled into mercurial things, right? Because third house cusp is in Gemini conjunct Mercury. That's powerful right there. And it's conjunct Betelgeuse, the star. Betelgeuse doesn't have much to do with brilliance or intellect as far as I know, but it is a very powerful, big, bright star. So what it's doing is just lifting up the significance of Mercury. It's empowering Mercury. It's a very prominent big star. So, and the other thing about this Mercury, which, again, it's not only third house, Gemini, cusp, it's unaspected. Okay, there's a biquintile to Chiron in the 10th, but what an unaspected planet means is that all its energy is focused on itself. It's not going out to, to socialize, you could say, with all the other planets, and it's sharing its energies, getting diluted. If it was having aspects to Mars and to Venus and to Sun and Saturn and all these, it would be diluted. It's really keeping all its energy to itself. And for this reason, that's why he's so brilliant. And it's almost at the anaretic degree. It's 28 degrees, anaretic degree being 29 degrees. But it shows a very mature mind, a very mature intellect, right? 28 degrees. The higher degree, the more mature it is in that sign. So his mercurial intelligence was just very, very high. And it relates to his sun conjunct Castor, which, even though it's in Cancer, it's conjunct a powerful Gemini constellation star. Okay. Now, to further this theme of intellectual brilliance, South Node conjunct another extremely powerful star, Spica. I don't think there's much to do again with brilliance, but it gives success, renown, riches, a sweet disposition, a love of art and science, right? So generally, like an intellectual star that it's again, this is one of the main big stars. I only included like the really prominent stars that were conjunct his personal planets, and he has a lot of them. I haven't gotten into all of them, but that indicates something because it's south node. Whatever's touching south node, that's what we come into this world with. A lot of times, people, the most gifted people, have planets conjunct south node. They were just born with gifts. That's what south node means. You're born with gifts, whatever's touching south node. Spica here indicates just a powerful quality that he was born with. He was born for something, something very powerful. And it's conjunct Mars tightly, less than 2 degrees. And then by extension, Moon is sharing in this because it's close enough that it's getting that energy. And Mars conjunct Moon means a very active mind, very quick, because Moon, even though it deals with emotions, it also deals with the intellect. Like, don't forget that. Like, people often think it's like the sun and Mercury, and it's also the moon. The moon greatly deals with our intellect. And Libra is a highly intellectual sign. It's an air sign. It's cardinal air. So a Libra moon conjunct Mars is very highly active, especially conjunct South Node. South Node is accentuating this. So again, and the sixth house. Sixth house is Virgo's house. Mercury rules Virgo. And it's the cusp is in Virgo too. So all of this is saying like really powerful intellect. And if we look at the rulership, Libra is ruled by Venus. Venus is in Moon's sign, Moon's in Venus's sign. There's mutual aspect, even though it's square. Look, 1401, 1450, same degree. Venus and Moon are in mutual reception, it's called. They're changing energy. And so that's bringing in all of this conjunction, this almost a stellium, if you will, but Spica is not really a stellium object, but South Node, Mars, Moon, I guess vertex too, you could include. That would indicate like some special, I don't know if it relates to this, honestly. I mean, vertex is a tricky thing. It only gets activated during transits, but it could indicate something to do with destiny relating to his moon. But anyway, these are trading energies. Third house, fourth house cusp, I see the highly creative point, I see. It's trading energy with sixth house in Libra, but Virgo ruled Mercury ruled Virgo cusp. So that's powerful. Sun and moon luminaries, Mars speeding it up, south node, the stars. It's just a very powerful mutual reception, and very motivating too, because it's a square. It's like he's very active minded, very driven to achieve something here. And it's also square the MC. Obviously, it's a T square, so it's relating to his career as well. Powering that. Now, if you look at his ascendant in Taurus conjunct Pluto, and we know about his life, like he had some great success, but then like it didn't go well. Like J.P. Morgan, like he wanted to create free energy for all of humanity, and I thought a lot about this. Like, would that have been a good thing or not? Who knows? I mean, I love the idea of free energy, but who knows what would have happened. Anyway, JP Morgan pulled the plug on him, and he went downhill after that. Like, his life did not turn out like he had hoped and planned. Well, that's Pluto, right? Even though his ascendant is in Taurus, Pluto rules Scorpio, and Scorpio deals with crisis. I mean, there's no getting around that. Anywhere where Pluto or Scorpio or eighth house is, where there's planets or points, there's going to be big crisis. There's going to be big, like striving for something and then failing, like death of ego, death of hopes and dreams, death of success. Like there's just going to be things are just going to crumble wherever Pluto, Scorpio, or eighth house is at times. It's periodic, building and falling. That's the nature of Pluto, Scorpio, eighth house, building and falling. And it's transformative. It changes people. So it's, and the ascendant is relates very strongly to somebody's sense of self as it relates to the world, because it's the horizon, it's the rising on the eastern horizon. So it's like whatever's rising in your life, whatever's coming into your awareness. So it has to deal with self and also the world, the rising of your world, what's becoming alive in your world. And Pluto's conjunct Chiron. I was thinking about it, like, what does Chiron mean in his 10th house? Because this is the only prominent 10th house thing. And like, he was, I mean, you know, he had a worldly presence. What was it? Well, Chiron's the wounded healer. And it has two sides. One side is great wounds, the other side is healing. And 10th house, and it's I mean, it's in Aquarius. Aquarius is so humanitarian. 10th house is public, career. I mean, what did he want? He wanted to give to humanity. Like, he was an incredible humanitarian. Humanitarianism is definitely one of the major aspects of Aquarius. And Chiron, being the healer, he wanted to heal humanity, right? 10th house, Aquarius, Chiron. And then, right, Pluto square that. Squares are difficult, challenging aspects. And Pluto builds up and falls down. So it's like his aspirations, his healing, his desire to heal humanity was squared by Pluto. So it's like crushed, crumbled. You know, JP Morgan pulled the plug. Terrible, but who knows? Maybe it was for the best. Okay, the next thing I was like, okay, even before I looked at Nikola Tesla's chart, and I've looked at it before, but I forgot what it was like. And I was like, well, there's going to be something to do with Uranus, because Uranus is the significator of electricity, and he was big on electricity. So how's that going to work out? And then I was like, oh, Uranus is in his first house. That's good, but it's in Taurus. It's debilitated in Taurus. It's exalted in Scorpio, and it's in Taurus now. But it's debilitated in Taurus. And I was like, well, that's weird. Like, why is his Uranus in Taurus? Okay, well, one thing, it's conjunct Algol. And I talked about Algol before. Algol is the blinking demon star. And the significance is not so, of Algol is not so important here, because Uranus is not a personal planet, but it's an impersonal planet. But Algol is a major, it's one of the major stars, and it's very, brings tons of creativity. So I think because of that, that's activating his Uranus big time, and it's less than a degree away. Interestingly enough, the zodiac moves 1 degree every like 75 years from the tropical zodiac from the sidereal. So if you look at it now, Algol's like at 26 degrees. And when I was born, my Mercury is conjunct Algol. It was at 25 degrees. So here it's at 24 degrees. And so, yeah, while I'm here, I just want to say, like, sidereal versus tropical, what's the difference? And I know this, I'm kind of paralleling, I'm kind of sidetracking here, but I just want to touch on this point. The tropical zodiac is based on the vernal equinox, when the sun is at the equinoxial point in the spring. That's 0 degrees Aries. So we're basing it around around the movement of the Earth around the sun. And the sidereal zodiac is based on the fixed constellations. So remember what I said before, personal planets, the ones that are closest to us, have more of an effect on our personal life. So that's the difference between the zodiacs. It's not that one zodiac is accurate and the other zodiac is inaccurate. One zodiac is right, the other zodiac is wrong. They're both right, but they have different influences, just like the planets have different influences. And it's just kind of silly once you understand it to be like, well, the tropical zodiac is right and the sidereal zodiac is wrong, or vice versa. The sidereal zodiac is right and the tropical. No, they're both right. They have different influences, just like the planets all have different influences, and everything in astrology has different influences. We have to understand the different influences. The tropical zodiac has more to do with our personality because it's more personal. It's dealing with the Earth's rotation around the sun. And the sidereal zodiac is dealing with constellations that are light years away. So it's less personal. And it has more of a different kind of influence. And I haven't studied the differences enough to be like, well, tropical is more useful in this and sidereal is more useful in that. Like, I mean, probably in big social trends, just thinking briefly like here, worldly trends, sidereal zodiac is very powerful. And with the nakshatras, which are based on like the groupings of stars, again, that's also very powerful, and it deals with much bigger, broader, more subtle influences. Anyway, so Uranus conjunct Algol, powerful because of the proximity to the degrees. The closer the degrees, more powerful it is. And it is sextiling Neptune in Pisces, and Neptune is ruling its own house cusp. Neptune in Pisces is Neptune in Pisces is in Pisces right now. And Neptune in Pisces is very imaginative, highly creative. Like this is where the sign you want, if you want to be able to think huge, a huge, big vision, right? It's in the 11th house. So it's almost at the 12th house cusp, but it's in the 11th house, the house of hopes and wishes and dreams. So his vision was huge and his imagination was like out of this world. And it's nice that it's connecting to Uranus here. And what else? The sun is making a connection, and MC is also making a connection. So yeah, he's getting huge imagination from this Neptune. It's retrograde, so that's going to even be more internalized, more imaginative, right? And it's in conjunct the South Node, so it's related to his and 112th. This is a very creative aspect, by the way. The in conjunct, or the quincunx and the semi-sextile, they're related because this is 1/12 and this is 5/12. And it's very creative because 5 is a creative harmonic and so is 12. 5th house is Leo ruled and his 5th house is Leo ruled, so he's very creative. And Leo is a very creative sign, and 12 is Neptune's rulership, 12th house. Both of them are the very creative. So quincunxes are very creative aspects, and this is a tight aspect to his nodes, so it's showing some kind of destiny with Neptune and his imagination, very strong. South node in 6th house, north node in Aries in 12th house. So again, his mind, his destiny was going into the depths of his subconscious, his dream world, his imagination. This is Neptune's realm. So again, like creativity, like just like huge imagination. I mean, we often think, we might think that like to be like a scientist or not an inventor, but like these brilliant people, like that Neptune or imagination has nothing to do with it. Imagination has everything to do with it. With Einstein too, we'll see. Like I'm gonna read his chart too. Imagination and Neptune have so much to do with these brilliant people, right? Sometimes we'll, think that Neptune or Pisces are kind of dumb or whatever. They can be, they can be extremely delusional and like, you know, gullible and whatnot, but they can also be brilliant. Like it can go either way, right? Jupiter here is protective in the subconscious. It's making, I don't know, like it's just a good placement for it. It's really hard to the 12th house is, it's the house of dissolution. Like everything gets lost and dissolved. So it's not anything I can like directly point to, except that it's a beneficial placement. It protects him, and it protects his mind. It protects him from, you know, um, delusion, really. You know, like with such a powerful Neptune, Jupiter here really keeps him, keeps his mind correct, because Jupiter is wisdom. So he's not going to believe, he's not going to go down like some rabbit hole believing in, or, you know, incredibly delusional things with Jupiter here. It's going to help him, definitely. Now this is a minor aspect, but it's so tight I thought I'd include it. Pallas Athena conjunct Aldebaran in Gemini. Again, because of the tightness of that, it's powerful, because Aldebaran is the bullseye. This is like the number one star out of all of them. It's considered the, you know, the most powerful star of all, the bullseye. It's in the Gemini tropical, but if this in sidereal, it's in Taurus. And Pallas Athena deals with the intellect. It's you know, when Perseus was going to defeat Medusa, Hermes, Mercury, gave him the sword of discrimination. Pallas Athena gave him the shield of reflection and strategy. So Pallas Athena is very intellectually oriented. So this, again, is greatly aiding his mind, his brilliance, because it's so prominent with Aldebaran and in Gemini, and you know, and it's getting a really nice sextile from Jupiter. Jupiter is helping out here, giving wisdom. Pallas Athena is already related to wisdom and pattern recognition, and Jupiter is helping out there. Let's see what else. In general, Uranus in the first house is very, very self-aware of everything, of the world. It's a very powerful placement for Uranus, because why? First house is the house of awareness. It's, you know, this is the point of realization. First house is the house of, it's the most conscious house, and Uranus deals with consciousness. It deals with awareness. It's the significator of enlightenment, of awakening, of realization. So Uranus in the first house, which I also have, by the way, is very powerful. Like people who have Uranus in the first house, like they're aware of everything in the world. You know, they're aware of world affairs. They're aware of everything that's really, really going on. So it's very powerful for awareness. Alrighty, well, that's most of the basic reading of his natal chart. So I want to go to what's next, some midpoints, because he has some significant midpoints, and they say a lot about his personality, his nature. I'm just looking at the main oppositions and conjunctions to the midpoints. Now, midpoint, these are planetary conjunctions to the midpoints, meaning that when two planets have a midpoint and there's a planet conjunct or opposite, that's very significant. It's three-planet harmony, and it's very telling. So Moon, Uranus, Chiron, look at that. Moon, Uranus, Chiron, okay? You can see visually how Chiron is in the middle, Moon and Uranus. And again, with his powerful Moon that I already explained, he's very intellectual and fast and strong because of because Mars and South Node and Spica. and sixth house, Libra, Virgo. And then Uranus, remember the electricity. Uranus, that's if we want to look at why he was so brilliant with electricity and his humanitarian 10th house healing, wanting to help humanity. That's significated here, aspected here, pointing to that. That's what that is. That was very prominent for his life. There's more. Moon conjunct sun, moon node sun. So that's just the pointing, that's just really like talking about his destiny, less than half a degree, his mind and his destiny, because north node relates to destiny. And that he was his sun is in the middle, so sun, that's an indicator of success and fame, relating to his moon mind. Here, look at this one. Mercury, Venus, Saturn. I'll show you what that looks like. See, Mercury, Venus, Saturn. Saturn's right in the middle between Mercury and Venus. Remember I said Saturn, when it relates to Mercury, deals with science. And that's why he was, and Mercury is intellect. Venus is creativity, but also beauty. But here, because of this mutual reception with his mind, it's bringing all this in, and the sun, it's bringing in so much to this conjunction, to this midpoint conjunction, that it really makes sense. Saturn is just like focusing all of that, focusing his intellect, focusing his creativity. Saturn just strips and pares down and makes everything more tight and exact and powerful. By the way, I didn't mention this. Saturn is conjunct Ceres, and Ceres deals with practical philosophy. So again, he was very practical. Like I read a little bit of like his ideas about lifestyle and food and whatnot. And he was very conservative. He was very conservative with eating and drinking, and that's Ceres. He had these strict rules for himself, and you could see like in his photos, he was all like gaunt. Like he was very strict and rigid with his own, how he took care of himself, his practical philosophy. That's Saturn conjunct Ceres. Astrology is amazing. I mean, it really is. It tells everything. Mercury node, Uranus, again, anything to do with the nodes deals with destiny. So intellect, destiny, Uranus, electricity, right? Brilliance, invention, very tight orb. We don't even need to look at that. Mars, Neptune, Saturn. Let's look at that one. Mars, Neptune, Saturn. Okay, Saturn is right in the middle again of another midpoint. So Saturn is highly aspected in this chart as well. And this is not, you don't just see this with like, like this isn't, everyone's chart is going to have all these, amazing correlations. No. This, Mars and Neptune deals with like a passionate, because Mars is so passionate and driving, passionate vision. And Saturn, again, is just like narrowing it, focusing it, making it more scientific, especially in the third house. It's just really like super enhancing this powerful vision that he had. Right. That might be most of the really good ones. Jupiter, node, moon, opposite. Again, dealing with destiny and wisdom, and moon, mind, Jupiter, ascendant, node. That's all the ones I think that are really important to talk about. Saturn, Mars, Chiron, that seems very painful. Saturn and Mars together are very very strict and contractive, and Chiron is very painful. um, that could deal with some of his upsets, some of his losses. Saturn, Chiron node, destiny again. All right. What else? I'm not going to take too long to go through everything here because, well, I just don't want to. But I looked through his harmonic charts, and there wasn't anything like super prominent. But then I looked at his 11th because the 11th should show his genius. It should show his brilliance. And the 11th harmonic, just like the 11th house, which is ruled by Uranus, we're dealing with resonances here. And the resonance of the number 11 is highly charged because it's a prime number and it's a high prime number. It's the highest prime number out of 12. So it's like a very active number that's holding itself together, but it's just like full of energy and it's like electrically charged. So it's like a very brilliant harmonic frequency. And Nikola Tesla would love astrology. I mean, if he could probably, I don't know. I mean, he should have been an astrologer too. Well, he wasn't, but he deals with numbers, so he would have understood this at least. The significator of the planet that rules number 11, or Aquarius, which is the 11th sign, 11th house, is Uranus. So I was looking for Uranus in this chart, the 11th chart, to see his brilliance. So what do I see? Unaspected Uranus, exalted in Scorpio. I was like, okay, well that really says it all, because remember what I said about Mercury in Gemini, unaspected, third house. That's so powerful. And then I was like, oh, well, his Uranus is in Taurus. That's not powerful. But in the 11th frequency, it's in it's exalted in Scorpio, unaspected. So his brilliance is really seen here. By the way, this is the only unaspected planet. Unaspected Uranus, 11th frequency. That's just like runaway energy, runaway brilliance. It's just runaway. It's just like no limits. It's all, he's got his Uranus here has all the gold. It's just like, I got all the gold, I'm running away, it's all mine. And that's his Mercury too, in his natal chart. It's like, I got all the gold, it's all mine, I'm not sharing with anyone. That's why he was just off the charts brilliant. You know, Einstein, somebody said, what's it like being the most brilliant man in the world? And Einstein said, I don't know. Don't ask me, ask Nikola Tesla. He's the most brilliant man in the world. Nikola Tesla was the most brilliant man in the world, at least scientifically, at least in the way he was. He was a master of electricity. He was a master of Uranus. He was a master of invention. He was a master of imagining, you know, his work. He could imagine, he could build machines in his mind, fully working, operational, and just see them in 360 degrees inside and out. That's his Neptune in Pisces, 11th house, 12th house cusp. And that's your exalted Uranus, conjunct Algol, you know, it's not conjunct Algol in the 11th house, but it's conjunct Algol in the natal, and it's exalted in the 11th house, in the 11th harmonic, where it matters. Okay, guys, that is my reading of Nikola Tesla. That's why I'm pointing out all the reasons why he was so brilliant. And there's good indication here. And, oh, I forgot to do one thing. Check this out. Well, I'll let you just sit with this. I'm not going to really say too much about this, but look what happens when I click on sidereal and we look at Nikola Tesla's chart from sidereal. Oh, look, third house, Gemini stellium. Everything's in Gemini. Sun's in Gemini, Venus in Gemini, Ceres, Saturn, Mercury, all in Gemini, third house. Oh, look at his moon, sixth house cusp in Virgo, right at the beginning of Virgo. Moon, Mars, South Node, all in Virgo, 6th house. Mercury rules Virgo. Mercury rules the 6th house. So again, okay, I mean, I'll leave it with that. Like, is sidereal valid? I think so. Is tropical valid? Yes, absolutely. But again, they say different things, right? Um, so fascinating stuff. The 12th house, all in Pisces, Neptune in Aquarius, but almost on the Pisces cusp. You know, imagination, we could be like, well, this is where his imagination came from. So there's different ways to look at it. I'll leave it at that. So get in touch with me if you would like a reading. Macro Gold Machine is at yahoo.com is my email, or you can reach out to me on Facebook. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.